Hey folks, it's Jang here from ultimaterc.com and the URC forums. Going to be doing an unboxing of a vehicle here and first look at this vehicle from Redcat Racing. This is called the Sandstorm. It's a four-wheel drive, 1/10 scale, ready to run buggy. I basically just grabbed a whole big couple of hands full of inspiration just out of thin air. Decided I wanted to unbox something. I've had this in my garage actually for months and months now. I think I might have even gotten it late in 2012, whenever it first came out is when I got it. It's just been sitting around in the queue, and like I said, I got some inspiration to do some new stuff. I've got some ideas that have been brewing for evolutionary changes to my video style that I think are going to work out well for me and my enjoyment of the hobby. I think they're going to work out well for you guys too. So right out of the box, let's see what we get. There is a charger in here. This is getting opened up in normal process. It is a 1/4 amp charger. Boo, weak. It's going to take a while to get any battery charged up. The radio set, transmitter, is your good old FlySky FS-GT2 style, so nothing new there, but a tried and true low budget, low cost radio. Older model with 8 AA's that are required here, so that's a little bit unfortunate. They still require the 8 AA's. This vehicle, if I didn't mention already, cost $170 ready to run. I got it off eBay. Everybody, there's a ton of drop shippers, sellers out there, so you can get this from a lot of places. Redcat is a company that has had a lot of ups and downs over the years of quality. They've done more ups more recently in their history. I'd say that they've kind of got a lot of negative rep early on from really cheap vehicles, cheap in every way. I think they've done some that have been better in recent years, but still remains to be seen whether this is one of those better ones or not. It's a brushed vehicle, so it's not going to be super fast out of the box, guaranteed, almost guaranteed. This is a charger for a nickel metal hydride pack. It's a what do you call that? Trickle charger. It's a trickle charger. So we'll have to look at the battery, which I'm assuming is in here given the weight of this thing. I have to check that out once I get the top off. As you can see, this thing is really inspired by the look of a desert racing buggy, and it actually looks quite a bit like the Apache C1 buggy in terms of the specific design and look of this section here. However, this is a 1/10 scale vehicle, a smallish 1/10 scale vehicle at that, not a long wheelbase, not an axial exo sized vehicle. It's smaller than that. It's closer to the size of a Traxxas Stampede or something like that, or a long wheelbase 10th scale buggy. Right out of the box, I can tell you that this suspension is ridiculously soft. I mean, you can just see it right there, right? You don't even need to feel it. You don't need any description from me. That's pretty crazy. So I'll have to see what adjustability we get there. I like the look of it in general for something as cheap as it is. It's nice to have the scale details of some roll cage. A little bit of driver detail too. You know, that's a nice touch. This back here is completely fake and cheap and weak. I mean, that's almost insulting to me that they put that on there, trying to make it look kind of like a spare tire, but it really doesn't. They might as well have just left that out, in my opinion. Let me go ahead and take off this body, see what we get underneath. Now, do you see what I just did there? I just took off 4 body pins. 4. And then I took this entire roll cage off. Now, why can't folks like Axial and Viterra and other companies figure that out? It's so much better. I mean, people only want roll cages for the looks, honestly. I mean, at least that's my feeling about it. You know, we like to have vehicles that, a lot of us off-road fans like vehicles that have that kind of look to it with the full cage. But we don't want to have to take out 2 screwdrivers and go through, you know, 8 to 16 screws to open it up. And these guys, somehow they managed to figure it out, even though they're you know, what you might call an off brand. So this is just pivoted forward. This is kind of flimsy, weak here, but again, this is all just body. It's just for looks, and this is really nice to be able to have easy access to get in there. The front bumper does feel like it's a little bit too flexible. I'm worried about that a little bit, but the nice thing is that once this is on here, it's partially braced by the body posts, so that becomes a much stiffer, better assembly. So battery, I mentioned, was going to be nickel metal hydride, and indeed, oh wow, aluminum body battery posts. That's unexpected. 1800 milliamp hour. Boo. Weak. I don't like 1800 milliamp hour batteries. They hold back the performance of everything, even something with a brushed motor. It's just not good. Let's see. This is only designed to work on 6-cell batteries, 6-cell nickel metal hydride. No LiPo capability in the ESC supposedly. I'm still going to run it on LiPo anyway. Just a 2-cell, you know. Something nice and cheap, but you know, a little brushed ESC. Got a big old heat sink. Well, not that big of a heat sink, but an obvious heat sink on there. This is clearly assembled quickly and pretty cheaply. You know, they didn't do a whole lot of nice stuff to route the wires around and such. Let me just turn this around. It is a little bit awkward moving this around with the body attached there, but you can take that off completely with just 2 screws. But I'm just going to leave it like this for now, because it's just easy access is a good thing, getting to it quickly. Big old heat sink on the motor, that should help depending upon the gearing on here. I'm hoping that they geared it up high enough to try to get as much power as they could out of this little sealed can brushed motor here. Now looking at the parts, I can see that this is from the same family as the other, like the HBX, HSP. You know, there's a Exceed RC, Tornado, Infinitive, Lightning. All those are in basically the same model family, and they're going to share some parts for better or for worse. It's interesting that these A-arms have 2 different places where shocks can be attached. It looks like they can be flipped for probably a larger vehicle with a larger set of shock towers with longer shocks to get more travel on them. We'll have to see how that works out. But with the shocks, I mentioned the shocks, the biggest problem here, and I've encountered this with other vehicles from the same OEM, is that the pistons just have way too much bypass. They just let oil straight by. So even when you put in really thick oil, you still end up with a fairly soft feel to it. The springiness, I think the spring rate might be okay for general use. Looks like it might be a little bit too preloaded. This is another amazing thing that it's a shame that bigger name companies don't get this right. They've got multi-rate springs, progressive rate springs here. They kind of look like dual rate springs, really, with the small, close, soft coils up here, and then the farther apart, stiffer coils down here. And as this compresses, these coils completely compress and get you into the second stage of the spring. Now, they really need to do that sooner. If only they had gotten it set up so that they compressed onto each other, fully locked onto each other just a little bit sooner than that, this would have been perfect. But that is how you design so-called progressive springs to actually work, unlike what Traxxas does and HBI and most companies that tried progressive springs. You want the softer stage to completely compress, so that then you're only using, instead of both stages together, you're only using the stiffer stage when you get down towards the lower end of the compression stroke, and you know, it stiffens up, and that's how it's supposed to work. These are actually bottoming out before the chassis bottoms out. I think when you go flat, it's right about the same time, but as soon as you're in a turn, as soon as you're turning a little bit like this, it's actually bottoming out sooner. So that's not a good thing. That's going to make for a bumpy ride as the vehicle actually runs on essentially its bump stops. So I'm going to need to put in some thicker oil for sure, if there's any hope for the pistons. Otherwise, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe diff oil, some thin diff oil will do the job. It's all the same stuff. Shock oil, diff oil, it's all the same stuff, just different viscosity. You do have adjustable camber here. You've got some different roll center options, inboard and outboard, interestingly enough. It does have metal drivetrain. I haven't looked inside the diffs. It does have ball bearings everywhere. You've got a pretty nice, pretty thick, solid aluminum center drive shaft there, dog bone ends. You've got steel dog bones at the front and the rear, adjustable toe here. There is a servo saver which looks like it's adjustable. Yep, it is adjustable also. And let's see if that is actually doing its job right now. It's adjusted all the way down, so there's actually more flex in the parts. Let's see if you can see what's going on. Oops, sorry about that. Once you can see right there how the parts are flexing. That's got me really concerned. Flex is important to have in plastics, especially on basher vehicles and cheap vehicles made for entry-level drivers, because they're going to beat on stuff. They need plastic to have give. But when it has that much give and the parts are that thin, I don't like that. That is not making me feel very comfortable with this. The tires, I keep feeling the tires, but not talking about them. I usually talk about tires very quickly because it's a big deal. The entire performance of a vehicle comes down to speed from the motor system and the battery, but then the tires is where you get all of your handling from and your traction. These do not feel good. They've got mold release compound on them right now, which is making it difficult for me to feel the actual compound of the rubber, but I can feel just from trying to compress it, especially the shoulders are way too stiff, and the tread pattern's probably okay. These are offset, staggered I should say, staggered with a smaller diameter at the outside, a larger diameter towards the inside of them, kind of like short course style. This is a proprietary size. You're not going to fit standard short course wheels and tires on here. Probably the closest thing that would fit would be, I'm thinking something, maybe the WR8 wheels would just fit. No, maybe not. Probably the Kyosho DRX, DRT wheels would fit over this, but it's super hard to find tires for those, really limited in choices. You do have 12mm hexes here, so hopefully if you can find, for replacements, if you could find something with a lot of offset, you could get some buggy, some 12mm buggy wheels, and then put some buggy tires on there. Maybe OFNA CRT 0.5 wheels and tires would be a good upgrade for this. And I did mention ball bearings. I see ball bearings in here on the diffs, but now that I'm looking on the hub carriers, see if I can find an angle. Can you see it? Can you see it? Well, I can see it. There you go. Oil-eye bushings. Bushings in the hubs. Probably doesn't need bearings for as slow as this thing is going to be, but it would have been nice to have bearings everywhere, but they were definitely cutting corners and cutting costs on this. So thus far, I am not impressed by what I'm seeing here. Not impressed at all. I'm going to go ahead and try to drive it completely stock, just to give it a fair shot, see exactly how this thing performs in stock form. I'll try it with just nickel metal hydride batteries to start with, and then I think I'll quickly migrate on to some low-rated 2S LiPo batteries. It doesn't really matter the rating that much, but try to be kind to it. I know you're not supposed to run LiPo in this, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what I have, and that's what a lot of my viewers have. So I'm sure that a lot of folks who have any interest in this thing after seeing the unboxing here would probably want to have a look at the performance on a 2S LiPo. So that's it for now for my first look at where is the front? There we go. First look at the Redcat Sandstorm desert racing buggy. We will see how it does. I do not have high hopes for it right now, but who knows? Maybe with just a little bit of tuning, try to keep the cost as low as possible, do as little to it as possible. maybe I can get it to be actually respectable and have some fun with this thing. So I will be doing driving videos as soon as I can. No guarantees on exactly when that will be, but this is definitely right there in the queue. And when I go out and have my next big RC run, I will be running this also. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be talking to you again as soon as I can. Bye for now.